Okay, we're going to talk today about the election of 1800. Now, the election of 1800 is not unlike the election of 1796, only this time around, Thomas Jefferson will defeat John Adams. The issues on the table at the start of this election: the Alien and Sedition Acts. John Adams, what most people consider to be an overreach of federal power, starting in 1798, is in question. However, Adams's success in the XYZ affair gets him a little bit of credit with the voters. A new issue we have not discussed that becomes a talking point in the election of 1800 are the 1799 Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. Now, Jefferson and Madison both had authored, now these are both Democratic Republicans, who wrote resolutions arguing that the executive branch cannot do anything that is not specifically assigned to it in the Constitution. They're trying to rein in the power of the executive. And for those who opposed John Adams and Adams's overreach of federal power with the Alien and Sedition Acts, this demonstration of executive restraint is really important. So the basics when it comes down to the election of 1800, we have Adams, who is still a Federalist, Jefferson, who is still a Democratic Republican. There is no popular vote. So this is the first contested election, because obviously George Washington was appointed, but there is still no popular vote. The Electoral College is the only body that is voting on these candidates. And it actually, on the Democratic Republican side, it results in a tie between Jefferson and Aaron Burr. And Alexander Hamilton, if you guys are familiar with Hamilton, you'll know that Alexander Hamilton, the vote came down to him and whether he would choose Jefferson or Burr, because it went to the House of Representatives and he, as Speaker, had to decide. So Thomas Jefferson is chosen. Burr becomes his vice president. Now, Aaron Burr, you probably know as, the man who killed Alexander Hamilton. He is a Democratic Republican like Jefferson, but Jefferson did not like the idea of having the second place winner in the election be vice president. So he actually changes the vice president selection process while he is president. So Jefferson is the winner. One really important feature of this election is the application of the Electoral College. So if you're in class, you're going to get a chance to see a little video clip that explains the Electoral College. If you just do a basic YouTube search on how the Electoral College works, you'll find a lot of great, super user-friendly videos that explain it. So why does the election of 1800 matter? This is a really meaningful moment in the way that other countries perceive the United States, because countries like Britain and France, countries that had these long institutionalized governments, did not know if the American experiment would be successful. And the idea of having one political party simply hand power to another one peacefully and without contesting the vote, this is really significant. And it happened. John Adams graciously walked away from the presidency. Jefferson takes over, and there's a relatively smooth and easy transition. So Thomas Jefferson is a two-term president. He's president from 1801 to 1809. And Jefferson is one of the most quotable people in American history. Thomas Jefferson is someone we know a great deal about because the man wrote about everything. In fact, every morning when he woke up, the very first thing he did was attend to his correspondence, letter writing, requesting documents from various libraries, communicating with people that he was working with professionally. The first thing he did in his day was sit down to write letters, and as a result, there are over 50,000 handwritten letters from Thomas Jefferson in his collection at the Library of Congress, and that's not nearly all the letters he wrote in his life. In fact, when his wife died, he burned all of their correspondence because he wanted to keep their relationship private. And it's likely that he did that with correspondence with other people as well. So 50,000 is just what we have left. It is incalculable how much he wrote in his lifetime. Okay, so a little bit about Thomas Jefferson. He is, of course, a Virginian. His father, Peter Jefferson, was an immigrant from Wales. He was a land surveyor, so actually some of the first maps, really accurate maps of Virginia, are Jefferson maps created by Thomas Jefferson's father. Some people see Jefferson maps and they think it means it was from Thomas Jefferson, but it was actually from Peter. Now, he attended the College of William and Mary as a teenager. Typically, people did attend college a bit earlier in their life at that point in time. He studied law, and he hated every minute of college. Now, he claims it was because he didn't get enough face time with his professors, which is probably true. He also said it was because he felt that having everybody go to school and live in one main building, the Wren building in Williamsburg, was unsanitary, but also he was a really awkward, shy guy, and a lot of his letters from college detail him being rejected by girls at dances. So, yeah, he didn't have a great time in college. But he grew up and he becomes a jurist. He's never like a courtroom lawyer, but he studies the law and he builds, he's an amateur architect, he's an inventor, but he fashions himself a gentleman farmer, which honestly is kind of a misnomer. I mean, he was a wealthy, aristocratic gentleman, but the hard labor on his farm was not done by his hands. It was done by slave labor. Jefferson is also somewhat distinct in that he is a deist. He is not a Christian. He's often sort of mislabeled as being a Christian. He's a deist. He believed in a creator and a higher power, but not in an organized faith. One of people's favorite pieces of Jefferson writing to quote are Thomas Jefferson's rules of conduct. So these are items that he tried to live his life by and recommended that others do the same. So what I'd like you to do is pause this video. If you have like a piece of printer paper or poster paper, that's better to use because we're going to make our own signs with Jefferson's rules of conduct, but I want you to put each of his rules into your own words. So feel free to pause the video to go ahead and paraphrase each of Jefferson's rules on a piece of printer paper or poster paper. All right, if you are in class, we're going to watch a John Green video about Thomas Jefferson. You're going to pick one of the writing prompts here to respond to. If you are not in class, this is not something that you're going to have to do. This will just be a talking point for in the classroom. Jefferson is a complicated figure. Now, I went to the University of Virginia, which was established and designed by Thomas Jefferson, and I used to give historical tours. And I would talk, of course, about all of the great things that Jefferson did, his inventions, his ideals, his political contributions, his support of the arts and design and architecture and founding the University of Virginia. But you can't talk about Jefferson without talking about the morally questionable decisions that he made in his life. And he's one of the classic examples of the dilemma that historians have, asking themselves, should we celebrate historical figures who we know consciously did fundamentally bad things? And a common response is, well, what he did, and in Jefferson's case, slavery, possessing other people and owning slaves, people will say, well, it was common at the time. He just was doing what other people were doing. It was common. We don't want to apply our own judgments to a different time. But the fact of the matter is that a number of Jefferson's own documents indicate very clearly that he believed that slavery was wrong, and he continued to own slaves. So we're going to take a look at some primary sources where we can see how Jefferson's position on slavery evolves over the course of his political career. Now, what I would like you to do, I'm not going to read these out to you, but I'd like you to pause this video, and I know some of these are a little bit hard to see. Let's see. But there's a number of quotes here by Thomas Jefferson on slavery. Let's see. Okay, so here are all of, here's a progression of quotes from Thomas Jefferson from 1776 to 1805. So what I would like you to do is to read through these and notice how his position changed from 1776, from the year of independence, to 1805, which is midway through